Hey everyone, I am Mango, and today is June 25th. 2 more days until the expansion releases, Rebirth of Glory. They've updated their website, so all of the cards are now on their official website. So I'm going to take the time to do my full review. Starting with Forestcraft here. We'll start with the bronze cards and move up. Leave the exciting ones for last. Starting with Harvest Season. It's a 3 play point spell. Draw 2 cards. If at least 2 other cards were played this turn, draw 3 instead. It costs a little bit much for Forestcraft. Forestcraft likes to be very proactive when it's doing things. So spending a turn just to draw some cards is a little bit weak. Yeah, I don't think Forestcraft would want to play a draw spell like this unless some kind of combo control Forestcraft comes out of the expansion, which I doubt right now. So this card's going to get a 2 out of 5 for me. Mecha Claw Elf is a 3 play point 3/3 with the Mechana trait. Fanfare, if another allied Mechana card was played this turn, gains Storm. That is pretty powerful. He's already got a very good stat line with a 3/3 for 3. And if you play him with another Mechana card, you get Storm. That's very aggressive. A 3 for... this has to be answered right away. Like a 3/3 for 3 has to be answered right away. Because the damage is going to stack up really high. And gaining Storm can even be used to trade. You can trade to something with 2 attack, have them survive. It's pretty powerful. There's the Bagworm card from last expansion that can reduce the cost of this card. So you can make the Storm happen on turn 3, which is very powerful. I'm going to give the Mecha Claw Elf a 4 out of 5. I'm not sure if Mecha Force is going to be good enough, but standalone, this card is very powerful. Next we have Dryad of the Grove. She is Fanfare, put 2 fairies in your hand, and Clash, give enemy follower -2 attack. She costs 5 play points and is a 4/4, so she's a little bit understated for her cost, though she does give you 2 cards in hand. I don't think this is particularly good. I'd say this is probably another 2 out of 5 card. Heroic Fairy Champion, 4 play point 2/2 with Ward. In Fanfare, next time damage is dealt to this follower, reduce it damage to 0. Enhance 8, gain +3/+3. So it's an interesting follower. It's very understated first cost. But it gets Ward and a temporary damage shield. So maybe you can count this as potentially a 2/3 or higher that needs to take 2 hits to die. Yeah, as long as there's a lot of tokens around, the shield's not very valuable. Yeah, it's not particularly valuable right now. I'd say this card is maybe a middle ground card, but still probably a 2 out of 5. Yeah, give it a 2 out of 5. Nature Corded, 4 play point spell. Destroy enemy follower amulet. Put a fairy in your hand. Very fairly costed for a destroy effect. 4. We'll see there's a lot of new powerful amulets around, so maybe this is going to be a card you want to play in your deck. And a little upside of getting a fairy is nice in Forestcraft because you can use that fairy to combo with the other cards. This card's going to get a 3 out of 5 for me. Potentially better, depending on the meta, but this is a pretty meta-specific card. Melai, 3 play point 2/2 with Rush. Whenever an allied fairy comes into play, destroy it. Whenever an allied fairy is destroyed, gain +1/+1. and deal 1 damage to enemy leader. So there's a few uses for him. You can actually play a bunch of fairies and then the next turn play the Shredder and trade all the fairies. Or you can just save your fairies in hand in a later turn and play them all together. Get some little bit of damage in, make this guy a little bit big. So let's say 3 fairies is probably average. So in turn 6 you can have a 5/5 with Rush that deals 3 damage to the opponent. That's okay. I think there's stronger cards than that in Forestcraft, unless we find a way to like actually just dump a lot of fairies in the same turn as playing this. It's not that good. I'm gonna get a 2.5 out of 5. Wellspring Elf Princess. He's a 2-play.22. Very nice stats for a 2-drop. And evolve, put a Fairy Wisp and a fairy in your hand. It's kind of awkward to evolve this card because it doesn't give you any immediate tempo onto the board, but the extra card advantage you get from this in combo pieces is nice. This is going to get a 3 out of 5. Next we have another 2-play.22. This one has Ward and Machina trait. Fanfare, return another allied follower or amulet to your hand. If that card is a Machina card, draw a card. This is very, very good for combos. Kind of bad for tempo, because if you want to play this guy and you have something on the board you don't want to bounce, you can't really play him. It's kind of awkward. But he's very good for combo, so he's probably going to be saved in your hand as a combo enabler for late game. He's going to get a 4 out of 5 because he's just very powerful, as you'll see with the later cards. Whirlwind Rhino Roach. So Rhino Roach is back. This time it's a 1-play.11 with Fanfare, gain X attack. X equals the number of allied Whirlwind Rhino Roaches you've played this match. If X is at least 5, gain Storm. And if it's evolved, at the end of your turn, return this follower to your hand. So, very interesting. You need to constantly bounce this back to your hand until you've reached 5 played, or 4 played. No, sorry, 5 played. So 5 played, he'd have 6 attack. So, like I said with the other card we just looked at, the bounce effect is very valuable. So, this is kind of hard to play, I think, because you need a lot of bounce effects. Of course, it bounces itself back if you evolve it, but evolving it only makes it a 3/3 with plus X attack. So maybe it's not going to survive when you want to. Maybe got a cold coming on or something. Yeah, like this can be a very strong game-ending card if played in the right deck. You have to do a lot of work to get this to work. I'm gonna give it a 3.5 for now. Of course, someone's probably gonna show me a deck that just makes this guy work very consistently, but I don't know that deck right now. So potentially a lot stronger. Next we have Miracle of Love. It's a 3-play-1 spell for Forestcraft. Summon either a Gentle Forest Beauty or an Irate Forest Beast. Enhance 6, summon both instead. If at least 2 other cards were played this turn, get the summoned followers +2/+2. It's very strong. So here's the followers. Gentle Forest Beauty is a 2/3 with Ward and gains Bane if Irate Forest Beast is in play. Irate Forest Beast is a 3/2 with Rush and gains Storm if an allied beauty is in play. So already very powerful if you play it up for Enhanced 6. You get a 2/3 with Ward and a 3/2 with Storm. Something like Albedo's Command that comes to mind. But also, if you get the combo of playing 2 other cards before this, they become a 4/5 with Ward and Bane, and a 5/4 with Storm That's like very, very powerful. So if you can get the combo to work, maybe with some wisps and fairies, this card becomes very, very powerful. Like, potentially game-ending powerful. I'm going to give this card a 4.5 out of 5. Almost perfect. Almost perfect. It just, the combo pieces might not be there for it. But yeah, it's very flexible, potentially game-ending, very strong. Omnis Prime Okami, 7 play point, 4/5 with Storm. Fanfare, return 2 allied cards to your hand. Summon X Okami. X equals the number of allied card returns. Whenever an Okami comes into play, give it Rush. And Okami is a 3/4 with whenever an allied follower comes into play, gain +1 attack. So if you get 2 Okami from the effect, the first one will be a 3/4 and the second one will be a 4/4. That's actually kind of insane. This card's insane. This card just is straight up insane. And for the less Storm, like that's already really good. And then getting 2 followers that have very high defense with Rush is like really, really, really good. The only thing that makes like this a problem is having stuff on your board to bounce back. But again, you can combo with wisps. You can play wisp and then another wisp and bounce those wisps back to your hand. It's hard to get wisp right now because a lot of the wisp generators have rotated out. But yeah, even like just saving fairies for this also works. So as long as this card's around, the opponent has to keep on clearing your board. It's always a huge threat. If it lands properly, it's like almost probably game ending sometimes. The amount of tempo and damage you get in the same turn. Yeah, this is a 5 out of 5 card for me. So that was Forestcraft. We'll move on to Swordcraft now. Forestcraft seemed to get a lot of powerful aggro and combo pieces. First up for Swordcraft, we have Brave Intervention. 4 play point spell. Put a random Swordcraft follower that costs 2 play points or less from deck into play. Deal 4 damage to an enemy follower. Yeah, this is a pretty interesting card. So there's a lot of good 2-drops for Swordcraft. First one come to mind is Leod. So getting this with Leod is probably maximum value, because I feel like Leod is way undercosted for him for a 2-drop. So 4 damage to enemy followers, pretty good. And getting your own follower is nice. A very strong tempo card. This is a 3 out of 5 for me. It's just slightly awkward with the cost, but still very strong tempo card. Especially if you get a Leod out of it. Next we have Veteran Vagabond Frog. 3 play point, 2/3 with Fanfare, gain Ambush until the end of your opponent's turn. And Enhance 6, gain +2/+2. At the end of your turn, gain Ambush if this follower is evolved. It is an officer. I like the art. I like how he becomes like a noble knight when he evolves. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. Like to note, he doesn't gain any stats when he evolves. The Vagabond Frog's always been kind of like scary, as like if you have a bunch of buffs and continuous ambush, it's very hard to remove him. But you kind of have to work a lot to make this work. So you have to like, first of all, you have to evolve him, and then you start buffing him. But if you're playing second, play him on turn 3, evolve him on turn 4, give him a buff. You can end the game real quick with the Veteran Vagabond Frog. So I don't think I don't want to sleep on this card. So I think it's like probably another 3 out of 5 card. Requires you to have setup and combo pieces, but the payoff is very strong. Next up we have Levin Archer, 2 play point 2/2 with the new Levin trait. Evolve, if there's any Levin cards in your hand, deal 3 damage to enemy follower. Pretty decent evolve effect. So another solid card. It'd be like a 3 out of 5, maybe even better, depending on how good the left-hand deck is. I think this card's very solid. Next we have Loness, 11 Apprentice, a 1/1/1 with 11 trait. Fanfare, gain 1 defense for each 11 card in your hand. Enhance 3, this card can attack 2 times per turn. So, yeah, but like this has a really strong high roll potential of getting like a 1/4 on turn 1, which is like probably the best thing you can do on turn 1. Can trade into a lot of things, very difficult to remove. Yeah, like if it sticks around, it combos the other 11 cards. Very strong. Also, being a 1-cost 11 card also works well with the other combo 11 cards. Helps you combo with the 11 cards, is what I'm trying to say. So I'd say I'd give this card like a 3 out of 5 as well. Like a lot of these 11 cards are going to be very solid. When you play it on turn 1 with the bonus defense, it's like maybe like a 5 out of 5 card, but after turn 1 it starts losing that kind of high roll potential, but still fits the card very well. King's Welcome is a 1 play point spell. Put a random commander card from your deck in your hand. If you can evolve and have more evolution points than your opponent, subtract 1 from the cost of a card. It's an interesting tutor for commanders. I'm not a big fan of this card. I think you'd have to... It's very situational. Maybe like if you don't have any turn 1 plays, this is good. It's not very good turn 2. Maybe not very good turn 3. But when you start getting evolve points, then it becomes a little bit better. To note, it only works if you have more evolution points and not equal evolution points. So going first, it's very hard to get this to work until like maybe turn 6 if you don't evolve turn 5. So there's that for what's the card. Yeah, then like if you're playing a bunch of commanders in your deck, you don't even know which one you're gonna get. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this. You can play this in Unlimited Spartacus, but also in that deck you have problems with, you have a bunch of commanders in that deck, and if you want to start removing those commanders, you'll lose early game consistency, which kind of makes the deck powerful, is that it has a decent early game while having a strong combo finish. So increasing your combo consistency but losing your early game consistency, I don't know if that's worth playing King's Welcome. So this is like a interesting card. I think it's like a... I don't want to give it any less than a 2 out of 5, but I am going to stay with 2 out of 5. It's very hard to play this card, I think. I might be wrong, but yeah, it's just... I'd rather have followers to play with on the curve instead of playing this card. Next we have Juno, 11 Stalwart, 2 play point 2/2 again. It's with trait 11. Can evolve an allied 11 follower, excluding himself, each turn for 0 evolution points until his follower leaves play. That's pretty sweet. So we already saw a very strong evolve effect with 11 Archer. So even that combo already is very good. Yeah, this guy's really good. Like just free evos, even if it's just one free evo, is always powerful. Give this card a 4 out of 5. Again, if 11 deck is strong, then this guy might be like one of the best cards in the set. Next up we have Splendid Fencer, a 2 play point 2/1 with Fanfare. Give an allied officer +1 attack, trait commander, enhance 5, give that follower Storm. Very good in an aggro deck. I'm not sure if aggro swords playable in rotation, but for unlimited, this is very good. For rotation, we're trying to split between 11 trait cards and Machina trait cards. It's hard to play like an officer on turn 1 or maybe something like that. So this is highest potential when there's officer turn 1, and for rotation there's not too many of those. Unlimited, there's a lot of turn 1 officers. They're much better in Unlimited. So rotation, something like a maybe a 2.5 out of 5. For Unlimited, maybe like 4 out of 5. Just the fact that it can give Storm to a follower in late game for that extra damage is nice. Next up we have Meet the 11 Sisters. 1 play point spell. Put Mina or a Mana or a Mena in your hand. Enhance 7. Put 1 of each instead and recover 6 play points. Mina is a 2 play point 2/2 with 11 trait. Fanfare, put 11 follower from your deck into your hand. Mena is a 3 play point 3/2 with Rush. Fanfare, if there's an allied 11 card in play, gain +1/+1 with trait 11. And another 11 trait, Mana is a 4 play point 3/3 with recover 2 play points. Or if an allied 11 card is in play, recover 3 play points instead. So what's interesting is that you can play all 3 of these cards on 6 play points because of the refund you get from Mana. Yeah, very flexible. Lots of options. Each of the cards are very good. This can be like a 1 play point 3/3, which is nice. Especially like you can play like the 2-drop Geno, and then you play Mana. You can get a lot of play points back. It free evolves. Do a lot of things in that turn. I think it might be like the best scenario is that if you use the enhance for Meet the 11 Sisters and you have a Juno in hand, it's probably better than Mina because you get that free evo. Yeah, very flexible card. Maybe not better than, yeah, I'm not sure if it's the best of these kind of like choose cards, but still very good. Like 3 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5. Next we have Auto Blade Patroller, a 3 play point 2/2 Machina trait. Fanfare, if you have at least 2 other Machina cards in your hand, gain +2/+2. Yeah, that's pretty busted. And then if another allied Machina follower is in play, destroy an enemy follower on evolve. This card is probably the scariest looking card that I've seen so far. Just like in how high roll it is. If you have the 2 Machina cards in your hand, it's a 4/4, and it can have evolve and destroy an enemy follower. Not even deal damage to enemy follower, just destroy one. That's like, this card's like probably the most busted 3-drop ever. But it requires you build a deck, a Machina deck, which already isn't like a bad thing. The Machina sword is like already decent. Yeah, 5 out of 5 card. The only reason I would see this not seeing play is if Levin sword is better than Machina sword. Next we have Albert, Levin champion, 5 play point 3/5 with trait 11, has Storm and enhanced 9. Randomly put different 11 followers, excluding Albert, from your deck into play until your area is full. Whenever this follower attacks, gain +1 attack if another allied 11 card is in play. That's very good, because if you get Juno from your deck, you got a free evo already. So it's already +1 from Juno, +1 from having an allied 11 card, then another +2 for evo. So it's 6 damage on Storm. It's pretty good. Yeah, and you get a full board. You can even just like not evolve Albert, involve something else, because you get the Juno. Get tempo as well as dealing damage. Yeah, Albert's very good. Even just like Storm, it's good. Yeah, 4 out of 5. I don't think he's a perfect card because Enhanced 9 is a little bit costly. But if you can get to that point in the game, you can just be game-winning card. Last card for Swordcraft is Alwida, Pirate Queen. The 7 play point 5/5. Trade Commander. Accelerate 4. Randomly summon 2 of the following: a Cannoneer, a Buccaneer, or a Marine Raider. And so let's look at the Accelerate first. Buccaneer is a 1/3 with Drain, and last word put a Gilded Goblet in your hand. Marine Raider is a 2/2 with Follower Strike. Whenever the follower attacks an enemy follower, deal 1 damage to that follower before it can deal any damage in return. I don't like this redundancy with the text, but I feel like maybe they'll remove that later once people learn what Strike does. And last word, put a Gilded Blade in your hand. And the Cannoneer is a 2/1 with Rush. Last word, put a Gilded Boots in your hand. I think the Cannoneer and the Marine Raider are the slightly better ones because the treasure that you get from them is better. Yeah, whenever you play a loot card for the first time on each of your turns, summon a pirate and a Viking. So you have to wait until you have like 8 play points so you can play a loot card with her. Viking, we've seen this card before. It's a 3/2 with Storm, and Pirate is a 2/3 with Ward. So very strong. Very, very strong. Oh, this could be a finisher in a loot-based deck. So, but you have to save a loot, and you have to play this on turn 8. It's not really a 7-drop because it's gonna die, probably. And if she sticks around multiple turns, then you're gonna win the game if you stick around multiple turns. She also kind of protects herself because you summon the pirate with Ward. Decent card. I'll give her a 4 out of 5. Yeah, Sword's interesting. They kind of split the traits between this new Levin trait and Machina trait. We'll see which direction Swordcraft goes. Next up, we have Runecraft. Which is Cauldron getting a reprint. It is a Earth Sigil amulet with last word draw card for 1 play point. This card is really good. Card draw is good. Having an Earth Sigil on turn 1 to start using your Earthright effects, very good. Yeah. This card is always like a 5 out of 5 in Earthright deck. Almost mandatory to play. The only reason I would see it not being played if you're playing a spell boost Earthright deck, and you just want to be spell boosting instead of playing this card. But still. Next we have Electro Kitty, 2 play point 2/2 with Fanfare. If you have 20 cards less in your deck, deal 2 damage to your enemy. That's a pretty steep cost for rotation. Because you have 40 cards in deck, it's very difficult to get to 20 cards at a decent rate. In Take-Two, you have 30 cards in deck, so it's very fast to get to work. So for rotation, it's something like maybe like a 2 out of 5, a 2.5 out of 5. For Take-Two, it's probably like a 3.5 out of 5 for the 2-drop. Look for this in your draft if you're playing Take-Two. Also, Open 6. Look for this when you're playing Open 6. Make sure your deck is as small as possible for Open 6. Twin Blade Mage, 8 play point 2/2 with Storm. Fanfare, deal 2 damage to an enemy follower. Spell boost, subtract 1 from the cost of this card. Yeah, we've already seen that cards with Storm and cost reduction are always good. Just like 0 cost Storm is always very good because you can do so many things in the same turn. The problem with maybe Storm is that you're going face, you're ignoring the board. But if you have a 0 cost Storm, you can be using removal in the same turn. And he also is removal. He wants to deal 2 damage to enemy follower. It's kind of gross. 2 damage isn't very, like, a lot, but, like, in certain situations, that 2 damage might just be enough to snipe off a follower while going phase. Yeah. Pretty good card. Getting a 4 out of 5 from me. Next up we have Jet Broom Witch, which is a 2 play point 1/3 Mechana card with Fanfare. Choose, put either Assembly Droid or Repair Mode in your hand. Assembly Droid is a 1/1 for 1, and Repair Mode is a heal 1 for 1. If it's a Mechana fire, it will restore 3 defense instead. All of them are Mechana cards. Mechana Rune is kind of awkward, but like this gives it some options for early game, so it's not bad. It's like a 2.5 out of 5 middle ground card. Next up we have Disintegration, 5 play point spell for Runecraft. Banish enemy follower. If you have at least 20 cards or less in your deck, recover 4 play points. Again, if you're playing Arena, like Open 6 or Take 2, this is a top tier card. Absolutely top tier. Put in your deck card. For rotation, 5 cost for Banish enemy follower is a little bit on the expensive side, but still banishing is very strong. So something like a 5 out of 5 for Take 2 Arena, and I'd say it's not that bad. It's like a 2.5 for rotation. Mecha Book Sorcerer, 5 play point 3/4 Mechana trait. If you give your leader the following effect, whenever you play a Mechana card, recover 1 play point. Yeah, very interesting card. Awkward to play in multiples because he doesn't really do anything aside from giving you that 1 leader effect. But that leader effect is pretty good, especially with the 1 cost Mechana cards. They'll be free essentially. Yeah, those affect in the stack. If I didn't mention that already, so you can't just play multiple him and get refunds on your 1 cost Mechana cards. Yeah, he's decent, but a little bit clunky at 5 cost for 3/4. I'll give this guy a 2.5 out of 5. Emmylou Smilemancer, 3 play point 2/3 with Fanfare Summon Earth Essence. Whenever an allied Earth Sigil comes to play, deal 1 damage to enemy leader. So it's kind of like Clark. Clark was a 2/3 that healed you instead of dealing the damage whenever Earth Sigil comes into play. So this is probably better than him because you want to be playing an aggressive deck usually when you're playing Earth Sigils. So very strong, especially good on the curve and giving you an Earth Essence. That's the problem with the Earthright deck, is that it didn't have really good 3-drop that you can play. This is very good for that deck. She is a 3.5 out of 5. Maybe better? We'll have to see. Mysterian Project, 2 play point spell Mysteria trait. Select a follower in your hand, put a copy of it into your hand. I'm not sure if this copies the reduction from spell boost. If it's just a straight up copy, it doesn't say that. So if it does, this card's insane. Like 5 out of 5 insane. If it doesn't, it's still pretty good. Yeah, I don't know what put a copy of it means. If it's copying the exact card, if it's copying just the name of the card. Next up we have Melvi, Princess Witch. She's a 1 play point 1/1 with whenever you play a follower, gain +1 defense, and when you evolve her, whenever you play a follower, gain +2 defense, and whenever you play a spell, gain +2 attack. So you kind of want to wait and combo her with a bunch of stuff. I don't know if that's good. She can grow pretty big if you have a bunch of cheap spells and followers. But you kind of have to hold her. Maybe if you're going first, she's a good 1-drop, because if you play her on turn 1 and if you have a follower following up on turn 2, she becomes a 1/2. And if they can't remove her, you can keep on growing her. It's kind of a snowball card. I'm not sure where we're going to play her. I'd give her a 2.5 out of 5 for now. Very interesting card for Runecraft. Irmis, Master Summoner, 6 play point 4/6, with end of turn, deal 4 damage to a random enemy follower. End of your turn, perform Earthright, deal 4 damage to enemy leader. Sorry, I didn't even rate him. I was like, whatever, ignore him. So he's 4 damage to a random enemy follower is okay. It's random. Probably it's kind of late in the game. There's probably be things that have higher than 4 defense on the board. And Earthright, deal 4 damage to enemy leaders. Pretty good if you're playing an aggressive deck. Maybe that's all you want, is just put a body on the board, maybe snipe something off, and deal 4 damage to enemy leader. So it's not bad. Give him a 3 out of 5. Not bad. He's not Young Levy. Ginger, a cursed word. 9 play point 5/5. With fanfare, put a Ginger's curse in your hand. During your turn, whenever an allied follower evolves, subtract the cost of this card by 1. And evolve, give your leader the following effect. At the start of your turn, put a Ginger's curse into your hand. Ginger's curse is a 0 play point spell. Change the cost of a follower in your hand to 1 and change its attack and defense to 1. That's pretty cool because you still get the fanfare effect. A lot of strong fanfares in the game, like Prince of Cactus, stuff like the new Zeus, stuff like new Olivia that we'll get to. Yeah, very interesting. And you play with Solomon, so you can potentially get this from your deck and play it for free with Solomon. Yeah, we'll see if there's it's like very cool to build this deck. I don't know if the deck's gonna be good, but it's gonna be a fun deck to play. So I'm gonna give her a 4 out of 5. Just overall coolness and very high potential of being broken. Just need the right cards. Alright, moving on to Dragon. We have Orca Run. It is a 2 play point bronze spell. Deal 3 damage to enemy follower. And if Overflow is active for you, put 2 Megala Orcas in your hand. If you don't know the Orcas, they are 2/2s for 2. Interesting card. 3 damage is very standard. It's decent to have this effect. Dragon has a lot of these kind of effects, even for cheaper. They have 1 play point, 3 damage. So I don't think this really competes with that. The 2 Orcas in hand are okay, but you're going to have to play them later. And there's really no benefit in playing 2/2s for 2 in late game other than filling in your curve. So for now, I don't think Orca Run competes with the other removal that Dragon has. This card is a 2.5 out of 5. Very standard removal with a slight bonus. Next we have Splendorous Rock. It's a 3 play point 3/3. So very good stats for a 3-drop. Kind of the vanilla standard. It has Fanfare in hand 6, evolve this follower. And Strike, whenever this follower attacks, gain +1 attack until end of turn. It attacks for 4 damage, or +1 extra attack. I don't like how it's not generates attack forever. I think that's kind of weak. It'd be nice if you could attack with this and then the attack sticks to it. The free evolve is nice, but it doesn't give it any other extra stats. So you're still playing 6 for pretty much a 5/5 with rush. Maybe a 6/5 with rush if you're considering the attack. So it's not that good. I would consider this card be a 2 out of 5. Next we have Zell, Wind Whisper, the 5 play point 3/3. With Fanfare, give +2/+2 to an allied follower. So you might consider this a 5 play point 5/5, which is really good stats. and then has Evolve. If Overflow is active for you, give another allied follower Storm. That's very powerful, especially in a class that can ramp, like Dragoncraft. You can get some kind of really strong combinations with Zell and maybe some other 5-drop for a lot of damage, especially since you boost it. So even like, let's say a random 5-drop is pretty good with Galmew. If you can play this and Galmew for 10 play points, you're attacking for... Actually, that's an awkward... Sorry, that was a bad... Actually, that was a bad example. I'll give you a reason why it's a bad example. Because you need the Fanfare +2/+2, and Galmew has an enhance effect. So, as I think of it, you can't actually do that. So you need some other kind of 5-drop to boost its attack. There'll definitely be some room for Zell in some kind of Storm Dragoncraft deck. I'm going to give him a 3 out of 5. Next we have Gadget Mermaid, 2 play point 2/1, with Fanfare. If another Machina follower is in play, gain Storm. She also has trait Machina herself, so she combos with other Gadget Mermaids. 2/1 with Storm is very aggressive, very cheap for this amount of damage, especially since you can evolve it for extra damage. The Machina followers for Dragoncraft are already pretty aggressive, so I think this works pretty well in that kind of combination. Without considering the overall Machina Dragoncraft deck being consistent, this card by itself is very strong. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 as well. Potentially stronger depending on how powerful the Dragoncraft Machina deck is. Next we have Helix Mushushu, 7 play point 5/5, with Accelerate 4, summon 2 Basilisks. The Basilisks are 1/1s with Bane. And last words, summon 2 Basilisks. So 2 Basilisks for 4 is pretty decent. They're really annoying for opponent to deal with, unless they have AoE or tokens on the board already. So it's not very good against other token strategies, but deals very well with large followers. A 7 play point 5/5 with this effect is not that reliable. In Dragoncraft, maybe it's a little better since you can get this out earlier. But if the opponent has the option to, they're going to try to ignore killing this. So you're going to have to force this to be a threat. I don't think this card's that bad. It's definitely not amazing. It's a 2.5 out of 5. Next up we have Steel Claw Worm Bruiser, a 3 play point 2/3 with Fanfare, add assembly droid to your hand, has trait Machina. Evolve. If there are at least 2 Machina cards in your hand, deal 3 damage to an enemy. That includes the enemy leader as an option. Also a very aggressive card to go with the Mermaid. Combos very well in a deck that wants to just go face. So maybe you place on turn 5, you can play the Worm Bruiser and the Mermaid and do 5 damage face while also evolving for tempo. So very strong. So again, yeah, I'll give it a 3 out of 5. Though the overall Machina Dragoncraft deck could be very inconsistent. Next we have Aoife Windrider, 4 play point 2/1 with Storm and can't be attacked. This is alright. It's another aggressive Dragoncraft card. We're getting a lot of those. But it's on a turn that's very interesting. Like for turn 4 going first, this is not too bad since your opponent can't evolve into it, which means that it's maybe you can get 2 damage on turn 4 and then another 2 damage on turn 5 if they don't have removal. So it makes it kind of awkward for your opponent to remove it if you're going first. Going second, if you're usually behind on the board by this point, so you usually want to be in a position where you're removing the opponent's stuff. And this doesn't work very well at that. It's more of a card if you want to push your advantage that you already have. Also, being a 2/1, it doesn't work very well with the stain package. So a lot of the stain cards will ping your own card for 1 damage. This doesn't work very well with those. I'm going to give her a 2 out of 5. But it's very interesting that we're getting more aggressive Dragoncraft cards. Next we have Dragon's Horde, 1 play 1 amulet with countdown 20. Fanfare enhance 8, subtract 10 from Amulet's countdown, and summon 2 Hellflame Dragons. Hellflame Dragons are 4/3s with Rush. Whenever an allied follower comes into play, subtract 1 from the Amulet's countdown. So it works very well with a lot of tokens, make this countdown go down really quick. And last word, summon a Dragon Sphere. Dragon Sphere is a amulet that, at the end of your turn, transform all allied followers without ward into Inferno Dragons. Surprisingly, the Inferno Dragons aren't here, but they're 8/8s. Interesting, very interesting. Yeah, so it could be a win condition for a token-style Dragoncraft deck, since you can turn all of your tokens into 8/8s at the end of turn. To note, you probably don't want to play this on any turn that's not turn, like, say, 1 or 2. Maybe even turn 3 you want to play this. But actually, you probably want to hold on to it for the Enhance later in the game, since the Enhance comes down with some decent tempo. Think of it as subtract 12 as well, since the 2 Hellflame Dragons will reduce the countdown as well. We'll see if this card's good. It's very deck reliant on a token Dragoncraft deck, but the payoff is pretty decent. So I'm going to give a 3 out of 5. Next up we have Wise Dragonute Scholar, 3 play 0.22. With Fanfare, discard a card from your hand and then draw a card. Can't be attacked. So another aggressive card, because it can't be removed by the opponent's board. It also has Evolve, discard. So it has the same effect on the Fanfare and Evolve. Usually this Evolve is going to go face if you're going to be playing a card like this. Either goes face or, I don't know, you want to evolve into something. 4/4 is not very strong. Discarding cards doesn't really give you any benefit in rotation, aside from cycling out cards that might not be good in the situation. It's trying to find other cards that might be better. So that effect is not the best, but a 2/2 for 3 with can't be attacked is decent enough in a aggressive Dragoncraft. I'll give her a 2.5 out of 5. Next up we have Hulking Dragonute, an 8 play 0.74 with Rush and Ward. Can't take more than 1 damage at a time. And when it evolves, it doesn't gain any extra stats, but can't be destroyed by spells and effects. However, it can be destroyed by damage from spells and effects. So very weak against tokens, very weak against kind of damage that comes in small pings. Very good against large followers. Very, very good against large followers. So I don't think right now in the current meta that this is going to be very good. And so there's a lot of tokens strategies. If there's some kind of meta where you're fighting maybe a bunch of large followers at once, it'd be better. Even playing against Haven, which might play 1 big follower at a time, this isn't that good because it can get banished by Haven. And there's a lot of banish effects. So I don't really like this card. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. Might be even worse than that, depending on what kind of metagame we have. Though it is better if you have buffs, but still dies the same things. And last dragon card we have is Genesis Dragon of Disaster, 10 play 0.78 with Storm, and Accelerate 4. Gain an empty play orb. If you can evolve and at least 1 evolution point, use 1 evolution point and deal 3 damage to all followers. This is not optional, so if you have an evolution point, it's going to do that damage if you want to ramp. This card is really good. So the problem with Dragoncraft and its large followers is that your hand can get really clogged with them. So you can have like a bunch of really powerful followers, but you can't play them because they cost too much. This gives you an option to accelerate it just to ramp, which will get you to your other large followers. So it's a very powerful endgame card that also works in the mid game to ramp you. So it's very flexible. One of the probably the strongest kind of ramp cards we have for Dragoncraft, since it has a dual purpose. Yeah, I'm giving this a 4.5 out of 5. It just has that problem where it costs 10, you can't do anything else on the turn. Still very flexible and strong as a storm card. That's Dragoncraft. Looks like Dragoncraft moving more in an aggressive direction for this expansion. Next up, we have my favorite, Shadow. Start off with Bone Blast, 5 play point spell, summons 3 skeletons, deal damage to enemy follower equal to the number of allied skeletons in play. 3 damage, on average, because there's not too many things that make skeleton tokens right now. So usually 3 damage on average for 5 play points is pretty weak. So summoning 3 worth of stats as well is slightly on the weak side. The only it seems like overall the play point value to the effects isn't that bad, but you don't have the flexibility of changing that. It always costs 5. So it's an awkward card up until turn 5, and then it becomes a little bit more awkward on turn 6 and 7. It starts getting less awkward after that. But if they don't have something that you can remove, it's just a kind of a dead card. Especially if the opponent has like maybe 2 medium-sized bodies, this doesn't work very well. So, not terrible, but not flexible enough to fit in a rotation deck. I'm gonna give this a 2 out of 5. Yeah. Next up, we have Greater Lesser Mummy. He's the biggest of the Lesser Mummies. 2 play point 2/2. With Evolve, if another allied follower is in play, perform Necromancy 8. Give Storm to an allied follower. So, really cheap to give Storm, but requires an Evo, and requires 8 Necromancy, so 8 Shadows. The effect is very powerful. Giving Storm is, like we've probably repeated a bunch of times during this review, is a very good effect. Allows you to trade with the follower right away, allows you to go phase, allows a lot of flexible options. Only issue is saving the Evo and the Necromancy. Necromancy 8 is pretty costly, but this card is pretty flexible since it's a 2 play point 2/2, and that fits really well on turn 2, really well on turn 4. And late in the game, it can be a game ender in certain situations. I don't see any good followers, though, to really combine with this right now in Shadow. But it's not too bad just to fit in your deck as a 2-drop that has the option for Storm later. I'm going to give the Greater Lesser Mummy a 3 out of 5. Next up, we have Mechasaw Deathbringer. It is 3 play point 1/1 with last word destroy a random enemy follower. Has trait Mechana. The Mechana trait is interesting for this card. It makes it less likely to be played in a Mechana deck since it affects your joy too much. It does, however, combine with Ghoul. Ghoul lets you play Ghoul and gain the extra stats. So it has that value, but it's kind of a costly combination because this thing costs 3. You can't do that combination until turn 5. And if you're playing against Sword, this card's a big reliability, so you can't play this on turn 3 reliable against Sword because they have Octress. So there's that issue. And it works well as removal combined with maybe Soul Conversion and Ghoul, but outside of that, a lot of classes will banish this right away. I'm not a big fan of this card. It's a very strong effect, especially if we have a metagame that plays one big follower at a time. Yeah, so it's situational. I don't see this card being played right now. Maybe in the future. It's not bad though. I'm gonna give it a 2.5 out of 5. The Machina trait's actually kind of a downside right now. Next up we have Mino, Crafty Reaper, 2.11 with Last Words gain 1 shadow. And Fanfare Enhanced 7, gain +5/+5, and 3 shadows. I like this card a lot. It is kind of a new version of Skull Beast. It does lack the extra defense, which is actually kind of a big deal on turn 1. Maybe later in the game it's not as big of a deal, depending on how many token strategies there are. But gaining 2 shadows, because it dies and gives you a shadow, it's pretty good resource for Shadowcraft. Especially when you have stuff like Soul Conversion and Ghoul, so you can gain extra value off this. Draw some cards, gain extra shadows. You spend those shadows on pretty big finishers that we're getting. You'll see later. Even works maybe with like Lesser Mummy for some aggressive combinations. Yeah, I think this card is going to be played a lot in strategies that focus on generating shadows. Like this card, I think it's going to be played. 3.5 out of 5. Moving on. Fatal Fields, 4 play point amulet, countdown 2. Then your turn, destroy a random allied follower and a random enemy follower. It's kind of like Tribunal from Haven, the old amulet. A little bit worse since you destroy your own allied follower, but sometimes an upside, maybe if you combine this like Mecha Saw Deathbringer. But that's like, again, weak against token strategies, pretty good against strategies that have 1 or 2 medium-sized, big-sized followers. So, pretty meta-dependent. Not terrible, not particularly good at the moment. I give this 2.5 out of 5. The downside of showing your own follower could be pretty big, though. Next up, we have Iron Gear Corpseman, 2 play point 2/2. Another Machina card that is very awkward to play in a Machina deck. Has Ward, it's nice. Fanfare, Necromancy 6. Randomly put 1 copy of the highest cost Machina follower that has been destroyed this match into your hand. So the only way I would see this card being played is if you're only running like a few Machina cards, you're not focusing on running Joy off of Aina. So I can see this, you're just playing Aina as a value card, because she's pretty good by herself. You don't need to use her spell for value, because she's already pretty good. So if I can see that make this card being played, just to get her back. Aside from that, it's very hard to play this card in a Machina style deck. So this is getting a 2.5 out of 5. The Ward is nice. 2 play point 2/2 with Ward might even just be staple enough to work, but then there's actually a downside of its Fanfare. Next up we have TT, 7 play point 1/9, very large defense, very small attack. Has Ward, makes this large defense pretty good. And Fanfare Burial Rite, put a random 3 play point follower and a random 1 play point follower from your deck into play. So Burial Rite is you choose a follower in your hand, you play it onto the board, remove all its abilities, and then destroy it. You'd use this to maybe put fodder into the graveyard to resurrect later, but there's not much resurrection effects right now. It's more likely just going to be you generate extra shadow off of this. So it kind of costs 2 cards to get this effect. But I think it's fairly powerful. 3 play point follower, there's a lot of options for that, so kind of decide what you want to do. There's Ward options, there's Storm options, there's just like value options for 3 drops. A lot less 1-drops in rotation. Right now you have Goblin, you have Gremory, and then you have Mino. So depending on what kind of build you have, you'd choose one of those to play. You wouldn't play TT without running a 1-drop in your deck. So I think Mino is maybe the go-to, because you're getting a lot of shadows off this effect. 1 shadow off the barrow right, a shadow off of TT, 2 shadows off Mino, and 1 shadow off the 3-drop. Yeah, I like this card a lot. I'm gonna try to make this work. I'm gonna give her a 3 out of 5, but some people will probably rate her less. Moving on. Spectral Cascade, 7 play point spell. Give your leader the following effect. At the end of your turn, summon zombies until your area is full. Enhance 9, randomly put different Shadowcraft followers from your deck into play until area is full, then destroy those followers. I really like this card a lot. The enhance reminds me a lot of Neptes. So it works differently, that it's not based on their cost, it's just based on their name. But you can choose which followers are going to get played and destroyed when you build your deck. Since you know you have maximum 5 slots on board, if you have maximum 5 different Shadowcraft followers, it's guaranteed that those followers will come out. So you can build your deck around this effect. There's some decent last words, like you saw Mechasaw Deathbringer earlier, and you're going to see probably a few more later. Yeah, so if you want to focus on getting those last words to all go off at once, it's nice. Also, it fills up your board with zombies after, so you're not just losing out on tempo if it's just doing some small last word effects. So you get a pretty good tempo play. Also, 5 zombies. If you place for 7, 5 zombies and the spell will give you 6 shadows if your board is empty. That's a pretty huge shadow gain. And if you have Enhance 9, you're gaining a lot of shadows. You're gaining potentially 11 shadows, which is pretty good, or more if you're playing like Mino. Yeah, I like this card a lot. It's you have to build your deck around it. Makes it a little harder to play, but I think it's very cool. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. It could be better depending on if we get enough last word followers to make this card worth it, or if the meta is slow enough. Because if we have a fast meta, it might be a little bit weak. Moving on, we have Kawi Underworld Air, 3 play point 3/3, that evolves into a 3 play point 3/3. With Enhance 6, gain the ability to evolve for 0 play points. Has Storm and Leader Strike. Whenever its follower attacks enemy leader, reanimate 4. This card's really cool. So, with your Evo, you can get a lot of value. You can get a 3/3 with Storm, and you get a 4-drop. It's pretty nice. Good 4-drop, I think, of Resurrecting would be something like a Bone Drone. Bone Drone's a good option, since Bone Drone by itself is a decent 4-drop. And later we'll see another 4-drop that is also a prime target for Kawi's effect. Again, it has Storm with Enhance 6, so you don't need to save the Evolve. Combos pretty well with Gremry. Not Gremry, sorry, Fairy. Combines very well with Fairy. Yeah. Pretty good card. Also, you could pull this off TT. Could be an option for your 3-drop. I'm going to give Kawi a 3.5 out of 5. He does require you to have a 4-drop to reanimate. Next up we have Aisha, Underworld Sovereign. Also Underworld in her name. And is a 4-drop. So you can get her off of Kawi. She's a 4/4 that evolves into a 4/4. She gains Storm and Bane off of when you evolve her. Necromancy 8. Evolve this follower, so if you play her and you have 8 shadows, you evolve her for free. Also note that this does not take up your evolve orb. Just like or your evolve for so this is different. So gain the ability to evolve for 0 evolution points means that you have to spend your evolution for the turn. You only get 1 evolution per turn. but this one automatically evolves the follower, so it doesn't spend your evolution for turn. That's an important thing to note. She has Invocation. At the end of your turn, if you have at least 16 shadows, put this card from your deck into play, then lose 8 shadows. Whenever an allied follower attacks and deals damage to an enemy leader, this follower doesn't attack this turn. Perform that's 8 revolve this follower. Okay, so. And I didn't read the whole thing together. Interesting card. So this is a separate line. It's hard to tell. Good with Kawi, because Kawi can resurrect her, and then before he does the damage, she'll be resurrected. And when he does deal the damage, then she will activate if you have enough shadows. So, like I was saying, you play TT, you play Mino, you play a bunch of other things to generate you these shadows, so you can get to 16 in Invoker, or just get enough to evolve her for free and gain Storm. So seems very powerful, but you have to do this more than once, because it's not a win one turn. You kind of have to do this damage over multiple turns while not dying yourself, which is difficult. So pretty cool effects. I'm looking forward to playing Shadowcraft. I'm going to give her a 3 out of 5. I think by herself she's not particularly good. You need to build a deck around her. And also you have to avoid playing cards that spend your shadows. And last Shadowcraft card is Hades, Father of Purgatory. 12 play points, 6/6. So you can't really just play him from hand. You have to find a different way. He has Accelerate 6, deal 3 damage to all followers, and summon Path of Purgatory. Put 7 play point Hades, Father of Purgatory, without Accelerate into your deck. Last words, summon Path of Purgatory, gain 6 shadows. Already, you can see that you can combo him with the Cascade. If he comes out of Cascade, he'll die and give you Path of Purgatory and give you 6 shadows. Path of Purgatory, if you didn't know, is a amulet. At the end of your turn, deal 6 damage to all enemies if you have at least 30 shadows. So the whole goal of this strategy is to get 30 shadows, get your Path of Purgatories down, and then they'll win the game for you. I think this card's pretty awesome. It needs a little bit of work. You need to build your deck around it. Again, you can't play a lot of cards that spend your shadows. Maybe you play no cards that spend shadows. You just have to build a deck that focuses on gaining shadows. We have the amulet from previous set that will give you 10 shadows if you evolve with it on board. So that's a big chunk already covered. You just have to find other ways to get to that 20 without losing the game in that time. Now, very interesting. I'm excited to try and make this work. Path to Purgatory is a very powerful effect, and the Accelerate 6, not too bad. 3 damage to all followers. Could be the board wipe you need while summoning a Path to Purgatory. Yeah, I like him a lot. I'm going to give him a 4 out of 5, because just based on how powerful Path to Purgatory is, and I don't think it's too hard to get the Path to Purgatory onto the board. That's Shadowcraft. Lots of interesting cards there. Nothing seems too particularly broken because it requires a lot of shadows to be spent. Moving on to Bloodcraft. First up we have Entrancing Blow, 2 play point spell. Give +2 attack to a Bloodcraft follower in your hand. And then deal 3 damage to a random enemy follower. This card can be played only when a targetable card is in your hand. So you need a follower in your hand to be played. You can't play this if you only have spells in your hand. You can't play this if you have no other cards in your hand. So you have to keep that in mind. But it is a very powerful effect. So +2 to a Bloodcraft follower. Usually you're going to target a Storm follower in your hand, so you guarantee that damage gets to the opponent. And 3 damage to an enemy follower means you hit stuff in ambush as well. But you can't target, so if they have a bunch of token strategies come up a lot. Because token strategies are very powerful. It could hit a 1/1, and that's not the value you want to get out of this card. Though at maximum value it's 3 damage to enemy follower and 2 damage opponent's face, because you're probably going to boost the attack of a Storm Follower. So, good card. Pretty good card. Going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. Next up we have Swarming Wraith, 2 play point, 3/2. With Fanfare, Vengeance is not active for you. Deal damage to your opponent. To yourself, sorry. If Vengeance is active for you, deal 2 damage to enemy leader. So 2 damage to yourself is fine if you're playing a strategy that wants to ping yourself, so maybe like Floros or something. And then the reversal, if you have Vengeance of 2 damage to enemy leader, is very nice. It's also a 3/2, so it's a little bit overstated for a 2-drop. Usually Bloodcraft cards are overstated if they do damage to yourself. Very nice for early game. Very good in late game if you Vengeance. Very aggressive card. Like seems to be played in some kind of aggro variant of Bloodcraft in Unlimited. Maybe there's some kind of version for rotation with the new Vengeance cards. It is getting a 3 out of 5 from me. Next up we have Nephelio, Dour Demon. This is one of my cards that I showed off on my stream. I was able to reveal this one. It's a 3 play point 3/3 with can't be targeted by enemy spells and effects. And enhanced 7, gain +4/+4. So the version that I got actually was misworded. It said that he got ward, but he doesn't actually get ward. So he only gets +4/+4. Yeah, it's pretty good against strategies that revolve around spell removal, like maybe rune decks might have a hard time with dealing with this card, especially when he's played on turn 3. So getting a 3-drop down that's not removed right away is pretty good, because you can trade with it or you can go face. If you're playing as rune, you probably want to go face. So an option in certain meta games where you know there's going to be a lot of targeted removal. Also, good stats for 3-drop. Is getting a 3 out of 5 for me. Not always going to be played. It is a good option though. Next up we have Gear Snake Tamer, 2 play point 1/3. With whenever a serpent comes into play, change it into a Mechana follower. She has trait Mechana. And evolve summon 2 serpents. Serpent's just a 1/1. But they become Mechana followers. Yeah, this card's very good in Mechana Blood. Very, very good. It does a lot of different things. It is a pretty defensive body. It's a 1/3. Hard to remove off the board. And it generates you extra tokens, which is what Mechana Blood wants. It wants to play a lot of tokens and kind of keep stuff on the board as threats. Because late in the game, this is a big threat because it can be evolved by mono, and it's also fodder for mono because it gets you 2 extra serpents. So very, very good. I'm going to consider this card probably one of the more powerful ones, if Mechana Blood is a powerful class. So I'm going to give her a 4 out of 5, one of the more powerful 2-drops we've seen so far, I think. Next up we have Prison of Pain. This is another card that I was able to show off my stream. 3 play point Amulet, countdown 2, deal 1 damage to your leader and draw a card. End of your turn, deal 1 damage to your leader and draw a card. So it's going to draw you 3 cards for 3 play points. That's already pretty good. And it pings you 3 times, so it works very well in conjunction with Floros. I talked about this card a lot on my reveal video. Make sure if you haven't seen that, go over to Echo Fox's official YouTube and check that out. Yeah, good card, I think. I'll give it a 3 out of 5, like the other one. No bias. Next up we have Mecha Forge Devil, 4 play point 3/3 with Mechana trait. Fanfare, put Assembly Droid in your hand. Evolve, put a Repair Mode in your hand, recover 2 play points. So this is a lot like, let's say, Tetra. Not as good as Tetra, because it gives you the extra play points and 2 cards you can spend right away. They're doing construction outside. The cards in hand are nice because you can hold onto them for Slain because they're both Mechana cards. So Probably going to be played in Mechana Blood for sure. Decent card. A little bit understated, but it gives you extra card value. He's like a 2.5 out of 5. Next up we have Nightmare, Dream Eater, 2 play point 1/1. With Fanfare, if Vengeance acts for you, gain +2 attack. Last word, summon a Force Bat, give it +X attack. X equals his follower's attack before being destroyed. Very aggressive card. You can get Vengeance pretty early, as you can see from the card that we're going to see later. And the Force Bat, getting extra attack is nice, because it's already like a 1/1. When it dies, it'll give you a 2/1. If it evolves, the Force Bat gets bigger as well. So you can get actually a lot of extra stats by evolving this follower. That's kind of nice for a 2-drop. Yeah. Very aggressive card, I think. Pretty powerful card. There's no real bat synergy at the moment. But you just kind of want to get tokens on the board to go face. Yeah. Not too bad. She's going to get a 2.5 out of 5. Next up we have Heartsick Demon. 2 play point 2/2 with Fanfare. If Vengeance acts for you, subtract 1 from the cost of 2 Bloodcraft cards, excluding Heartsick Demon in your hand. It's a pretty good effect, as you can see later, where we can get Vengeance as early as turn 1. So if you get that, you can combo very well. If you don't Vengeance, then this is just a 2 play point 2/2, which is not terrible. Not very good for Blood. Blood has much better options for 2-drops. But if you're focusing on Vengeance as your main mechanic, then this is going to be pretty good. It's going to get a 2.5 out of 5 for me. Next we have Azazel, the Deprived. 4 play point 3/3 with Fanfare, deal 2 damage to enemy leader. Enemy follower, not leader. 2 damage to enemy follower. If Vengeance acts for you, do 6 damage instead. That's a lot. It's pretty huge. He has Evolve, change your leader's maximum defense to 10, which puts you in Vengeance, and then gives your leader the following effect: can't take more than 3 damage at a time. This effect does not stack. Wouldn't really make much sense if it stacked, but yeah, it can't stack and lasts for the rest of the match. So, an interesting effect. You get Vengeance forever because you can't get above max 10 defense. And you have a kind of a small shield, protects you from large damage. Not very good against token strategies, like a lot of things, because the tokens don't really care about dealing more than 3 damage usually. But it's good against large damage. So sometimes a liability to evolve him, sometimes game winning if you evolve him. Very interesting card. He's going to get a 3 out of 5. I think his effect is pretty good on Fanfare if you get Vengeance. But his evolve can either be game winning or game losing, depending on what you're playing against. Next we have Urius, Traitorous Duke. 3 play point 1/5. That's really good stats. And Fanfare, if Vengeance acts for you, gain the ability to evolve for 0 evolution points. Note, you can't evolve on turn 3 even if you have Vengeance, because you don't have access to evolving yet. Whenever an enemy follower comes into play, deal 1 damage to your enemy leader and restore 1 defense to your leader. A very annoying effect. Punishes your opponent for playing the game. And it's also very annoying to remove this, so they're probably going to get pinged a few times. And heals you, so very good for race situations. When you evolve, during your turn, whenever this follower attacks and destroys an enemy follower, if the follower is not destroyed, restore 4 defense. So he can heal himself. When he evolves, he gains 4 attack, but no defense. So he can be evolved over pretty easily, but he can evolve and destroy something and heal up. So very good against opponents who are not playing large followers, and punishes opponents for playing the game. So very powerful. Probably going to see this guy in like almost every rotation Bloodcraft deck. He's kind of stupid. 5 out of 5. Busted card. Moving on. Setestrous Vampire. 8 play point 4/4. During your turn, when this card is added to your hand from your deck, if Vengeance is not active for you, reveal it and banish it. Vengeance active for you the rest of this match, even if your leader's offense is more than 10. Yeah, so ignores the vengeance mechanic by just making vengeance active all the time. Flavor-wise, it kind of sucks, but a very powerful effect, nonetheless. Fanfare deals 4 damage to enemy, then restore 4 damage to your leader. It's a pretty decent effect for 8. Not the best, but still can keep you alive. Maybe you can end the game with this card. And more, we're focused on her first effect that gives you vengeance for free forever if you don't have vengeance already. So not kind of a card you want to draw very early in the game, because you want to activate your vengeance cards right away. So very high roll if you draw it early. And yeah, it's a very silly card. It can either be like super powerful, or you never draw it and the rest of your deck doesn't do anything. So yeah, not a very reliable strategy in my opinion. Maybe a fun strategy, but yeah, not the kind of deck that I want to see Vengeance moving towards. But maybe if you already have a strong Vengeance deck that doesn't rely on this card, then this card just kind of is better. You just fit in your deck. So she's getting a 3.5 out of 5 for me. Powerful, but not the most reliable. Next we have Havencraft. This is also a very interesting class. First we have Pinion Lake, a 2-play 1 amulet with countdown 3. Fanfare, if you have more cards in your hand than your opponent, subtract 1 from the countdown of this amulet. Last words, summon an adamantium bird. The bird is a 3/5 with rush. I really like the design of this card. I think this card is the design that they should be moving towards. So if you have more cards in your hand than your opponent, usually means in early game that you went second. So you get a benefit for going second, which is what I would like to see more in this game, since second usually has a disadvantage. Yeah. Also, if you're going first, you can play strategies where you draw cards immediately and maybe kind of keep a card advantage and then get more benefit off Pinion Lake. Especially if you're playing against an aggro strategy that's dumping their hand pretty quickly. Yeah. I really love the design of this card. I don't think the card is that powerful, because it's kind of delayed. You kind of lose the early game but win the mid game. Yeah, I love the design of the card. I'm gonna give it a 2.5 out of 5. Not bad, but you kind of delay. It has a delayed effect where your opponent can do whatever they want on turn 2 and 3 usually. Next up we have Angry Doggo. It's a 2-play 1/3 with ward and fanfare. If evolved followers in play, gain +2 attack. So this is like the other Heavenly Hound, except this one has rabies and gains +2 attack. So it's a 3/3 for 2 with ward, is very powerful. You just have to play it when you're evolving something else. So maybe it's good with another 2-drop that you want to evolve. Yeah, 2.5 out of 5, maybe 3, depending on how flexible this card's going to be. And how often this effect is going to activate. Next up we have Steelwing, 5-play 4/5 with rush and strike, Machina trait. When a follower attacks, summon Assembly Droid. Well, maybe you can consider this a 5/6 for 5 with rush. Kinda, not really. Good in strategies where you want to summon a lot of Machina followers, maybe with Lamona. It's pretty decent. And you can't sorry. It's pretty decent because what you can do with this is very you can attack something and evolve a droid for spend your evolve on the turn. So you can remove more than one thing off the board on turn 5 with this, which is kind of nice. So maybe a good follow-up for Lemona. Probably don't want to play too many of these cards because it's kind of costly at 5. Kind of awkward to play, but not too bad. Let's get to 2.5 out of 5. Tender Rabbit Healer. 1 playpoint 1/1 with Fanfare Restore 1 defense to all allies. And Enhance 7, gain +4/+4 and restore 4 defense to all instead. That's a lot of healing. So, restoring 1 defense to all allies is really nice. Just for 1 cost trigger, it's like very flexible. You play a bunch of them per turn. You get multiple healing triggers at once. Yeah, on a body, it's very nice, especially with the Enhance 7. Later in the game, healing 4 might be significant enough to keep you alive. I think this card is really good. It's getting a 4 out of 5 from me. Very good in maybe like Tenko for Unlimited, and you'll see we're getting another card that this works very well with. 4 out of 5. Next up we have Passing of Love. A 1 playpoint spell. Choose either a Sacred Teaching or a Healing Prayer. Put either a Sacred Teaching, a Healing Prayer, or an Acolyte's Light in your hand. So 3 options. Sacred Teaching is a 2-play-1 amulet with Summon of Holy Falcon after countdown 1. Acolyte's Light is Banish Enemy Follower. And Healing Prayer is restore 3 defense to an ally, subtract 1 from the countdown of all allied amulets. So, very flexible. I like that about this card. It does cost 1, so it makes each of these a little bit more awkward to play. But if you need Acolyte's Light, then you'll get that. If you need Sacred Teaching, which is probably not going to happen too often, you can get that. And Healing Prayer, which might come up a little more often if you're playing an amulet-based deck. Yeah, I like this card a lot. I'm not sure if it's to be played, but the flexibility makes it not bad. Pretty good for Take 2. Of course, a lot of cards are, but this is very interesting. I'm going to give it a 2.5, maybe a 3. I'll give it a 3. I like this card. 3 out of 5. I like this card a lot. Might not be the most powerful effects, but the flexibility makes it nice. Next we have Heretic Priest. Put either a Forbidden Teaching or Red Hot Boots in your hand and change its cost to 0. Use a 6 playpoint 6/5. Kinda for stats. Forbidden Teaching is last words, draw 2 cards, give the following effect. Followers can't be played. That's pretty big downside. This effect lasts until the start of your opponent's turn. And Red Hot Boots is deal 3 damage to enemy follower. Last words, deal 1 damage to random enemy follower. So you can play this with City of Gold, City of Gold. City of Gold. And this countdown goes off immediately and you don't really get the downside of it, which is nice. You have to be playing a deck that relies on a bunch of amulets. The boots, pretty good. 3 damage immediately. So like, maybe you consider this as take up 2 slots, 6 playpoint, 6/5, deal 3 damage to enemy follower. Not the best for constructed. Pretty decent for arena. This guy's getting it at 2 out of 5. Just a little bit too clunky, I think, for constructed. Decent pick for arena. Next we have Robo Wing Present, 2 playpoint 2/2. With Fanfare, put a repair mode in your hand. Machina trait. Whenever you play a Machina card, gain Bane. So, very good card with Robo Falcon. I think the card's amazing, Robo Falcon. So Robo Falcon will give her Rush and I guess +1 or something like that. Something good. Either way, she gets Bane, so she gets to remove everything. If you give her Rush, then she's just 2 playpoint removal, which is very good. And puts a repair mode in your hand, so it works well with healing strategies. Yeah, like this card a lot. I think it's very good. Probably one of the more powerful 2-drops we've seen so far. She's getting a 4 out of 5 from me. You're going to see this card a lot in healing strategies and Machina strategies. Next we have Golden Bell, 1 playpoint amulet with countdown 3. Fanfare, restore 1 defense to your leader. Last word, draw 2 cards. Perfect 1 drop, play on turn 1. To get those cards a few turns later. Pretty slow after turn 1, but it has Fanfare, restore 1 defense to your leader, which is a good trigger for healing effects. You'll see later why that's pretty important. So, downside of being pretty slow in later game is that it has a counter of 3, but you still can get the healing trigger, which kind of hopefully makes up for how slow this card is. But one of the better cards that you want to play on turn 1. Opponent plays this against you on turn 1, you're already like, oh man, this is what the game's going to be like, because it gives Haven so many resources. Next up we have Kel, Holy Marksman, 4.43. Whenever your leader's defense is restored, deal 1 damage to all enemy followers. When he evolves, whenever this leader's defense is restored, deal 2 damage to all enemy followers. That's a lot. And also, evolve, restore 2 defense to your leader. So immediately, he'll do 2 damage, everything. And he's got pretty good stats, 6-5. So that's what I'm talking about. Cards like Holy, like Golden Bell, pretty good in later game because of the restored 1 defense. It'll trigger your Kel Holy Marksman. So 5 play points with the evolve, deal 4 damage to all enemy followers. That's going to board wipe most of the time. And you get to stick around with a 6-5. And you can then draw some cards later in the game. Very, very good. I'm very excited to play this kind of deck. Oh. Before we move on to that thing, I'm going to give him a 4 to 5. I think this card's amazing. Next we have Elena, Purest Prayer, 2 play point 2/2 with ward, and evolve summons Elena's Prayer. Elena's Prayer, if you didn't know, from the good old days of Shadowverse, is a 3 play point amulet. Whenever your leader's defense is restored, give +1/+1 to all allied followers. This works really well with followers that heal you immediately, because they all get the bonus. Especially with a bunch of small followers that all heal you, like the rabbit. Yeah. And if you're already healing yourself for other effects, like Kel, you're just getting more bonuses on top of bonuses. Yeah. Elena is a whole deck by herself. You build a healing strategy around her, especially with the repair modes. Your repair modes, you can target yourself with them. They'll work as triggers for Elena's Prayer. Yeah, amazing card. 5 to 5. This is a whole deck archetype by itself. I've had a lot of fun playing the archetype in the past. It's not as strong as the past versions. In the past version, you had stuff like Ari's Beast Call. You don't have cards like that, but you still have probably enough healing to make this work, and enough strong bodies. And last card we have is a very interesting one. It is Emina, Mad Eidolon, 4 play point 1/3 with Fanfare. If there isn't an enemy totem of madness in play, transform an enemy follower, excluding Emona and Mad Eidolon, into a totem of madness. Clash. If a totem of madness is in play, give enemy follower -4 attack until the end of opponent's turn. Yeah. When you evolve, whenever Captain Amulet, whenever you play a Countdown Amulet first time on each turn of your turns, subtract 4 from its countdown. So immediately just destroy your Countdown Amulets, which is pretty good. I like how the art kind of represents that, where you're getting she's getting a griffin hatching from this egg thing that she has on her body. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Anyways, Totem of Madness is a amulet with countdown 2. Last words: if there isn't an enemy Totem of Madness in play, transform a random enemy follower, excluding Mona, Mad Eidolon, into a Totem of Madness. So this will ping pong off of followers on the board until there's probably no enemy follower to ping pong onto anymore. Oh, it's very interesting. It kind of messes up with some of Haven's win cons. Like, it doesn't work very well with like Seraph, because you don't want your Seraph turned into a Totem of Madness. So your Lapis, not your Seraph. Lapis being turned into a Totem of Madness would be pretty upsetting. But it slows down the game in a way on both sides, since you just have this annoying amulet bouncing back and forth. Very good against large strategies where you have like a big follower on the opponent's side. Not very good against tokens, but it does fill up the opponent's board, make it so they have less things to hit you with. Yeah, very interesting card. I don't know where it fits or how it fits. Maybe you play this in a deck with a lot of countdown amulets. Well, this is, she's probably going to immediately die, though. Oh, she has Clash. Actually, the Clash can keep her alive. I didn't think of that. So the Clash is when she attacks or is attacked, the opponent will get -4 attack. So maybe she sticks around long enough to start getting value off of her evolved effect. Yeah, very interesting card. Very interesting. I don't really know where I want to play it. It's 3.5 out of 5 for me, because the effect is decent right away. If your opponent has a big follower you want to get rid of, and can maybe stick around to do a lot of work. Yeah, it's a cool card. I really like the design from Haven this set. I'm really glad we're moved away from lions. Last class we have is Portalcraft. First we have Puppet Shock, 3 play point spell, deal 4 damage to enemy follower, put a puppet into your hand. I can think of this as maybe a alternate version of Substitution. Substitution is better because it banishes, but if you're not worried about banishing, the 4 damage is higher than Substitution, so not strictly worse Substitution, but not strictly better. Good option if you're playing a puppet-based deck, or pretty much any Portalcraft deck, because 4 damage is nice, and having the 1 extra puppet is great. Very good in strategies where you want followers to die. So with like Lashana or Maisha, they want followers to die on your side. So yeah, just decent removal. Not amazing, because it's still a little bit awkward to play, but not bad. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. A little bit above average. Mechanical Mammoth, 6 play point 5/6. With Fanfare, if Resonance is active for you, gain Rush. Has Machina trait. So only, not all the time it gains Rush. It's just a 5/6. And 5/6 for 6 is terrible. Like a 1 out of 5 in my rating scale. I'm not even going to mention it's terrible on Hance. It's Hance a 9, gain +3/+3. So who cares about a 9 cost 8, 9 with Rush? Sometimes Rush, not even always Rush. Being a Machina trait follower doesn't really mean that much. It's better Machina trait followers for Portalcraft. You probably don't have room for this in a Machina deck. Yeah, pretty trash card. Sometimes it's like a 2 out of 5, sometimes a 1 out of 5, so maybe 1.5 out of 5. Next up with Hamlin, Fey Flutus. 4 play point 4/3. With Fanfare, select follower in your hand that originally costs 3 play points or less. Put a copy of that follower into your hand. Evolve, select follower in your hand that originally costs 3 play points less. Put a copy of that follower into your hand. So you can give you 2 cards if you evolve him. Stat-wise, not particularly interesting. Probably kind of weak on the stat side. You'd rather have a 3/4, but 4/3 is okay. Gives you 2 cards on Evo. Not bad. Not as good as the old Hamlin. Old Hamlin is better because the cost difference with the effect is nice. But not terrible. I'm going to give him a 2.5 out of 5. Next we have Cat Gunner. 2 play point 1/2 with Rush. Fanfare. Put 2 ancient artifacts in your deck. Nice ability. If you're going second, you can kind of dodge taking 2 damage from the opponent's suitor up by trading into it right away. Unless they have a 1/3, then this card's pretty bad. Gives you 2 ancient artifacts, so if you're playing an artifact deck, always good to have those in your deck. And doesn't really hurt you in a later game because you can immediately rush this into something. So, pretty good. Not as maybe good as Icarus, since Icarus can evolve and draw you an artifact right away. But maybe for rotation there'll be an artifact deck eventually. Not right now, maybe eventually. It is a 2.5 out of 5. Very average card. Next we have Meta Division. 1 play point spell. Put a Radiant Artifact in your deck, add it in your turn, draw a card. Radiant Artifact is a 4/3 with Storm. Last words, draw a card. Oh, last words, put a random artifact card from your deck in your hand. If your opponent's turn, draw a card. Yeah. It's okay. Radiant Artifact is really nice in the later game. You don't really want to draw Radiant Artifact right away in maybe unlimited rotation. It's okay to draw it right away because you're just going to hold on to it for later. Yeah, not bad. Not amazing. Usually, though, if you want to be drawing artifacts, like let's say you play a card that draws an artifact, you want to be drawing cheaper ones in the early game. So you don't want to play this right away, I think. So, kind of downside of playing early. But good to have Radiant Artifacts in your deck later in the game. Again, there's no real payoffs for artifacts right now. This card's getting a 2 out of 5. Yeah, it had potential of seeing play in the future. Next we have Icarus, Sunbound Wing, 4 play point 3/3. With Fanfare, put a random non-artifact card that costs 1 play point or less from deck into hand. And Evolve, put a random artifact follower that costs 1 play point or less from your deck into play. That's pretty decent. Still costs 4. Has to use an Evolve to get most benefits from it. If you get a Ancient Artifact, this gets a Rush, which would be nice. So you can remove 2 things off of the board on turn 4 if you have the Evolve. Not too bad. On turn 5, it's not even that bad to play either, because you can play the 1 drop you got immediately. So, yeah, not bad. So get a maybe it's a little bit more than average card. So yeah, 3 out of 5. Next we have Licht, the Gear Turner, 2 play point 1/1. Fanfare, put a puppet in your hand. Evolve, put a puppet in your hand. Whenever an allied puppet comes into play, restore 1 defense to your leader. That's pretty great in later game if you have a bunch of puppets, especially if you've been running like the Troop Master. You have a bunch of puppets in your deck. You probably have a bunch of puppets in your hand. Heal a lot off of just 2 drop before he dies. He only evolves into a 3/3, so it's hard to really evolve him and kill something. But he does give you a puppet, so that kind of makes up for that. Yeah, probably going to be played a lot in puppet strategies and strategies that require you to kill your own followers. And the healing is nice, especially in late game. So, 3 out of 5. Next we have Aerial Craft, 4 play point 3/4 Machina card with Fanfare, Enhance 7, gain +1/+1 in Storm. Strike, whenever this follower attacks, subtract 1 from the cost of all Machina cards in your hand. Ooh, that's a good strike ability. Yeah. So you can start playing your larger cost Machina followers right away after this, which is nice. Yeah, this card's very good. We've seen that subtracting the cost of cards in your hand, always powerful. And Enhance 7, gain +1/+1 in Storm, makes it pretty good in late game. Yeah, great card. We'll see play if Machina Photograph is a thing. This is a 3.5 out of 5. Next we have Artifact Duplicator, 7 play point 5/5 with Fanfare. Randomly summon a copy of different artifact followers destroyed during this match until your area is full. Good finisher for an artifact deck. I think it's a little bit awkward to play in rotation and on unlimited, and not enough payoffs in rotation for artifact to work. Maybe this could be the one card that helps you make an artifact deck a thing, since it's so powerful. Yeah. This will probably have to be explored a lot. So, in a nutshell, his effect, if a maximum value, is like 4 out of 5 card. Sway, Resonant Heart, 5 play point 4/4 with Accelerate, summon 2 puppets. Fanfare, put 2 puppets in your hand. Evolve, summon Victoria. Victoria is a 3/1 with Rush and Follower Strike. Whenever his follower attacks enemy follower, deal X damage to a follower before it can deal any damage in return. X equals this follower's attack. So, could kill things at up to 6 health, and kills things for free without trading into them if they have 3 or less defense. Good card. Again, just auto include, I think, in strategies that want puppets. Good card. 4 out of 5. Next. Magna Giant. 7 play point 5/5 with accelerate 1. Put random Mechana card, excluding Magna Giant, from your deck into your hand as trait Mechana. And Ward, also has Ward, sorry. And Fanfare, deal X damage to all enemy followers, X equal number of allied Mechana followers destroyed during this match. Very powerful Fanfare. So X, if X is 3, at least I think is very good. Anything more than 3, you get a lot of value out of this thing. So maybe target for this would be maybe 4 damage to make this card worth playing in your deck. 3 is minimum for value. 4 is probably what makes it worth playing as a card in your deck. With like the aerial fighting card, the plane, I can make him cost 6. Get him down on the curve earlier, which is great. Yeah, I like this card a lot. So Portalcraft's in a weird spot right now where you have Machina, you have Puppets, and you have Artifact. So you have 3 different ways of building Portalcraft, and a lot of cards are split where they only want to be played in one certain deck. So yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know how we're going to build Portalcraft. But we'll see. It's very interesting. There's lots of things to explore. This card is going to get a 3.5 out of 5. And lastly, we have a neutral. We have a 2-play-1 Amulet, Strategic Assembly, countdown 3. At the end of your turn, give a random allied follower +1 attack. And then at the end of your turn, give a random allied follower with no text ward. So no text means it has to have no text on its both sides of the card. When it's not evolved and when it's evolved, it has to have 0 text. That includes things like ward and bane. So yeah, so things that have this are like Goblin and Fighter, and like a lot of tokens have this effect. So really good in a token strategy. So yeah, if you're playing tokens, could be pretty good. If tokens have extra abilities like Ward or Rush, then not so good. But we'll have to see if this is even worth playing in a token deck. For now, 2 out of 5. A little awkward to play. Next we have Great Goliath. 4 play point 3/4 with Fanfare and Enhance 7 gain +4/+4. Enhance 10 gain additional +4/+4. Okay. So he's a 4 play point 3/4. That's pretty bad. He's a 7 play point 7/8. That's better, but still awkward, doesn't really do anything. Enhanced 10, he's an 11/12, which is huge, but also no extra effects, it's just a big body. So card 1 out of 5. Not worth playing. Maybe you'll see, maybe run into him in rotation. Sorry, in arena. You could run into this guy and it'd be pretty big. Maybe one of the bigger targets to give Storm, maybe with the Greater Lesser Mummy, but that really worth running in your shadow deck? Probably not. Next we have Hoverboard Mercenary, 2 play point 1/2 with Fanfare. Put a random Mechana card from your deck in your hand. Has trait Mechana. A lot of Mechana cards, a lot of Mechana strategies that probably want to run this. Mechana Sword, Mechana Blood, Mechana Haven. All might want to run this card. Mechana Shadow is kind of awkward because you don't want to pull this off Joy. Maybe you play this if you're only running Aina and a few other Mechana cards that aren't relying on Joy. You can play the Mechana Shadow. Yeah, fits into every mech in a deck. Sometimes you don't want to run a 1-2 if you're going to like avoid it, because 1-2 is not very good on the curve. But drawing a card is good for strategy going a little bit later in the game. Yeah, Machina Dragon as well. So, yeah, just a good card. This is a 4/5 draw card on a 2-play-1 body. Always nice, especially when it's a focus draw, so you know what you're going to get. You know the pool of cards you're going to get. Alright, next we have Apollo. 2-play-1/2 with invocation at end of your turn. If you have 2 play points and no cards in play, and your opponent has at least 1 card in play, put this card from deck into play. Fanfare, enhanced 9, gain +7/+7 reward. Yeah, this is kind of bad. He's good if you miss your 2-drop, or if you're playing something like City of Gold. City of Gold will look at your board at the end of turn, just like Apollo will, so they'll both trigger and both come into play. But if you have like the new Bell amulet, this guy Apollo won't trigger Apollo, so you won't get the free Apollo. So yeah, not even in the City of Gold deck is this really that good. Maybe like a free pickup in Arena. You can use them if you miss your 2-drop, or even if you like want to hold on to your 2-drop, you just get an Apollo. And only really works if you're going second, because if you're going first and have nothing in play, it doesn't even get Apollo from your deck. Yeah, kind of bad. 1.5 out of 5. I feel it's really hard to play this card. Next you have Unica, Unicorn Maiden, 2-play-1/2/2 with Strike. Whenever his follower attacks, restore 2 events to your leader. Good for Haven, since it triggers your healing effects. It does require an evolve, which might be pretty scarce in your Haven deck. There's a lot of different things you want to evolve. Maybe there's better followers to play that will heal you. So, option, good neutral, because just neutral healing is nice as an option if there's a lot of aggressive cards in the meta. Also is a 2-play-1/2/2, so stat-wise, pretty good. This card cannot be any worse than a 2.5. I don't think its upside makes it more than average. It's about an average upside for a 2-drop. She's a 2.5 out of 5 for me. It's great to see Unica back. Next we have Angelic Smite. 4 play point spell, banish enemy follower amulet. Both players draw a card. Wow, this is a card. This is a card. 4 play point banish for everyone. That's a neutral card. Everyone gets access to this. So if there's like stuff like Path of Purgatory is a problem, or Lena's Prayer is a problem, or Lashen is a problem, there's just a pure answer for all of them on a banish and neutral. There is a downside where you're going to give both players a card. That means your opponent's going to get a card, and the opponent gets to play the card before you, usually. Unless you have play points to play it immediately. If you're playing a control strategy, you probably don't have to worry about that too much unless you're getting beat down. But it's really good removing one big follower or opponent's win con if there's win con's a amulet. So really good card. Very kind of a meta dependent card, but yeah, in the right situation it's just game winning. 5 out of 5 card for the situations that it's going to be played. Yeah, moving on. Urd, Goddess of Restoration. 6 play point 5/5 with Fanfare, destroy a follower. If it's an allied follower, randomly summon a copy of allied follower with the same name to destroy this match. If it's an enemy follower, randomly summon an enemy copy of enemy follower with the same name to destroy this match. Wording is very weird. I assume the wording means that it has an initial copy of the card has to have died this game. So you can't just destroy, like say you have a fresh card that hasn't been played yet, and you destroy it, you're not going to get it back. So, interesting. If also the opponent doesn't have a follower that, like, it's like only the first time you play a follower and you destroy it, then it's straight up destroy effect, which is nice. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe the wording is just kind of confusing and you get it back immediately. We'll have to see. It's kind of weird, the wording of this card. So, I'm not going to grade it too highly. It kind of costs a lot for this effect, but potentially just a straight up destroy enemy follower in the right situation, if it's worded the way I think it is. So, 3 to 5 maybe? I don't know. You'll decide when we see this card in action. Next up we have Zeus, the Supreme, 10 play point 5/5, with randomly activate one of the following effects X times. X equals the number of allied followers evolved during this match. Restore 5 defense to your leader, or gain 3 attack and the ability to ignore enemy followers ward, or gain +1 attack, +1 defense and storm, or gain +1 attack and +2 defense and bane, or gain +3 defense and ward. Crazy. This can just like straight up destroy the opponent because you can ignore the enemy ward and gains a lot of attack. Ends the game immediately. If you roll a lot of attack on this guy, heals you, potentially keeps you alive. He can gain ward, helps you keep alive. Has bane sometimes, so it can destroy enemy followers big. Doesn't always have storm. It's kind of weird. So if you are playing an evolve centric deck, he's a good finisher. You probably want to evolve at least 6 times, I think, to make this guy worth it. So you have a chance at every single ability. Just rolling an ability twice is not that rare if you only get 5 evolves this game. So we'll have to see if this guy's worth it, because his effect is pretty random. So potentially wins you the game, potentially doesn't win you the game. I don't know. Either way, he's always not terrible. He's gonna get a 3.5 out of 5 for me. Of course, you'd be like, oh, he's a 5 out of 5 because he gains a bunch of attack, but doesn't always get all this stuff. You could like roll ward like 3 times, and you just have a big stupid follower that's just sitting there doing nothing. Yep. Last card we have is Olivia, Blackened Wing, 8 play point 5/5 with fanfare. Recover X play points. X equals the number of allied followers evolved during this match. Whenever you play another allied follower for the first time on each of your turns, give it the ability to evolve for 0 evolution points. So if you're playing an evolve center deck again, it's pretty good. You can pretty much get a cheap costed 5/5 on turn 8. And a free evolve immediately if you have another follower to play on that turn. If she sticks around for some reason, you can get more value out of her with free evolves. But I doubt that she'll stick around for that long. Olivia and Zeus will be pretty good in a Ginger deck since they still get their full fanfares while costing 1. So that'd be maybe an interesting strategy with Evolve Rune. Aside from some shenanigans, I think she's an okay card. Depending on how your deck is built. I'd give her maybe also 3.5 out of 5. You have to build your deck around it, I think. That's the whole set. Let me know in the comments what you think about the set and what your favorite class is. I'm excited to play Shadow and Haven. Yeah. Let me know how you want to build Portercraft, because it seems like there's a lot of different options now. And stay tuned for the release day, and hopefully you check out the stream. Thanks for watching.